Joining us now with a psychologist's perspective of the traits, the characteristics, and personality features of candidates is political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. He's co-founder of the Rossi Psychological Group in Somerset, New Jersey. He's a frequent visitor to programs like this to tell us what makes candidates tick and what's behind those smiles and handshakes. Thanks for coming in.
Nice to be with you.
You watched the debate the other night?
Certainly did.
What was your assessment psychologically?
Well, I think that obviously Romney came out ahead. I gave him higher marks than the president. I think he challenged the president, and the president really didn't respond back as I think he should have. So he won by being aggressive. It almost looked like he was on some extra caffeine, if I read it right. He was very pushy in the face of the president. I thought it was effective. I am not one, though, that thinks this debate was as lopsided as some people think it was. I think the president was flat, but I do think that Romney has some issues in how he presented himself with his aggressive tone.
But appearances are everything. Let's take a look.
Sure.
Appearances, how they began this debate.
Sure.
There are a lot of points I want to make tonight, but the most important one is that 20 years ago I became the luckiest man on earth because Michelle Obama agreed to marry me. And so I just want to wish, sweetie, you happy anniversary and let you know that a year from now we will not be celebrating it in front of 40 million people.
And congratulations to you, Mr. President, on your anniversary. I'm sure this was the most romantic place you could imagine, here with me. So congratulations. Okay,
they always say start off a speech with something lighthearted. Right. What did that tell you? First of all, he came out, shook hands, grabbed their elbow. What did that say?
Trying to be congenial, trying to show that they're personable, that they have a likable personality, trying to present themselves in a social way that's acceptable and pleasant-mannered. Yeah.
Warm and acceptable.
Warm and acceptable, yeah.
Well, what else? Let's take a look at some other video. I mean, different characteristics. You saw them during the debate. You saw Governor Romney kept looking directly at the president, and the president often was looking down or looking towards the moderator, Jim Lehrer, instead of looking directly at his challenger. What does this tell you?
Well, I think that what's happening here is that the president really felt agitated with the candidate. I really think that he was looking down. I also picked up that his facial expressions and his movement of his hands kind of denoted to me some disdain for the candidate. I don't think he's really comfortable at all with Romney. I think he gets under his skin, and he doesn't exactly know how to show his feelings for somebody he really doesn't like very much.
But we saw a different character in Governor Romney than we have seen previously.
Yes.
He seemed to, for the first time, he seemed to be connecting with voters, and he was comfortable on camera.
Well, I thought he was much more comfortable on camera. I thought he presented himself well, okay? But connecting with voters, I'm not so sure about. Connecting to voters, in my view as a psychologist, means that in this situation, you might change one's point of view. You might change a voter's view on this election. I'm not sure that in his robotic, very programmed, scripted manner, that he actually achieved as much as some of the pundits think he achieved in this debate. And
the president was not as strong as we've seen him other times, particularly when he's reading off the teleprompter.
He was not strong. He was flat. There's a trait that the president has. We've all seen it. I coined it actually in 2008. Served him well against Hillary and McCain. I call it simplicity of thought, where he presents himself and he actually presents it so that you get a picture in your head of the idea that he has. It's a very unusual skill that I did not see last night. I don't know why he kind of rambled, why he was flustered, but he did not present himself as I know him to be effective with his own traits and characteristics.
Now, before each debate, they both go through intense rehearsals, and they run through all the questions. So the next presidential debate coming up is October 16th, and that's going to be right here at Hofstra. What guidance would you offer to both candidates? First, what would you advise Governor Romney, and what would you advise President Obama's camp?
Well, first of all, with Romney, what has gotten me really kind of hot as a psychologist with Romney is that I think he really should have presented himself all along as a businessman. And he's been really fumbling as to how he should present his own personality. Maybe he should look at Michael Bloomberg, the mayor, and take a look at a guy that doesn't have such a great personality, but people like him and they respect him. With regard to the president, I think the president has to think about challenge. He's got to go back at the candidate, and he has to be more succinct, and he needs to use his traits and natural abilities to express his thoughts like he has in the past.
Everything is perception. How do you feel? Let's look into the minds of the voters. How do you think the voters perceive them in this debate on Wednesday?
I think voters probably thought that the candidate Romney was stronger, perhaps more effective, a better debater, and that if push came to shove, they would give him the win. But I'm not sure that that really was such a win that it was an overwhelming or a knockout punch, as Christie said.
All right, give us a psychologist's view of each candidate. You've been watching them. We've seen Romney out on the stomp for a long time. We've seen Barack Obama for the last 4 years. From a psychologist's couch, give us a thumbnail psychological view of each candidate.
Well, with the president, I think he has some unique characteristics. Again, he has this trait, this simplicity of thought, where he projects his ideas better than perhaps anyone, except for last night. He presents himself in a way that's very personable. He's comfortable in his own skin. He tries to be consistent. And the one thing the president does well, he doesn't discard anyone. He doesn't throw anybody away. He doesn't ever really dismiss people. So he's pretty good in that respect. I think with Romney, I see him and I get frustrated with him because I think he could present himself as a solid, hard-thinking businessman who's kind of steely-eyed. It's almost like he should walk around with a balance sheet and a spreadsheet in the other hand and present himself as a business guy who can be effective in balancing the budget and getting us back to where we want to be.
And when it gets down to the voter, is it who you like more or who you believe more?
That's a great question, but it's not likability that I say, it's personality. And personality to me means much more than likability. It's all of the traits, the characteristics. Is someone consistent? Are they a flip-flopper? Are they a good listener, like a Clinton or a Reagan would be?
Dr. Bart Rossi, thank you very much for your psychological insight.
Nice being with you.
Appreciate it. And that'll do it for our program for this week. If you have any comments or wish to see this broadcast again, log on to our website at pix11.com/newscloseup. I'm Marvin Scott. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone.